Seasteading Institute has inspired engineers to spend tens of millions of their own money to make seasteads happen. We have a two-person staff and a six-figure budget. How do we do it? Seasteaders know something that libertarian philosophers do not, and I'm going to tell you what that is at the end. The news media encourages us to fix things by fighting, but Michelangelo counseled us to criticize by creating, and we don't remember his political opinions. We remember the Renaissance he helped create. The Renaissance started in Venice. Venetian innovators didn't change kingdoms from the inside. Venetian innovators quit the kingdoms and fled to a marsh and built a society on stilts, which the ancients called the floating city. This startup government was based not on kings, but markets and contracts. Venetian merchants would dominate the Mediterranean for 1,000 years, creating the model for capitalism and free enterprise that changed the entire world forever. 500 years after Michelangelo's birth, Steve Wozniak was struggling to change Hewlett-Packard from the inside. He presented his wacky idea for the personal computer 5 times, and he was rejected 5 times because the kings at Hewlett-Packard couldn't imagine why peasants would want a personal computer. So Wozniak quit the kingdom and founded Apple with Steve Jobs. And if he hadn't persuaded by demonstrating, I wouldn't be using an Apple right now. So forget the personal computer. That's a technology from the 20th century. What about a technology for a personal government? These are the Hewlett-Packards and the feudal kingdoms that won't let a renaissance of startup governments happen. And today's Wozniaks of governance innovation deserve their Venice. Fortunately, nearly half the world's surface is unclaimed by any nation state. That green spot up top is Hawaii. After every plague comes the Renaissance. Venice would cure the world of feudalism. Seasteads will cure the world of statism. Better examples are how this happens. Much of the water you're looking at is very calm, tropical, low waves, no hurricanes, stateless, and everybody calls it paradise. Long before we go to Mars, free people are going to discover planet Ocean. And in 2019, the first affordable single-family home was established on the Blue Frontier. Robert Ballard, the famous oceanographer who discovered the Titanic, he's been called Carl Sagan with gills. He gave a famous TED Talk where he concluded, why are we not looking at moving out onto the sea? Why do we have programs to build habitations on Mars, but we do not have a program looking at how we colonize our own planet? And the technology is at hand, unquote. Bob was a seasteader long before I was, and he is holding my book, published by Simon & Schuster, the most prestigious publisher in America, called Seasteading: How Floating Nations Will Restore the Environment, Enrich the Poor, Cure the Sick, and Liberate Humanity from Politicians. A seasteading donor wants to get the book in as many libertarian hands as possible, so he offered to buy you all a book. Pick one up for free right outside this door. Rave reviews, the Wall Street Journal, Reason, Wired, Tim Draper, my favorite science author, Matt Ridley. And we stand on the shoulders of giants. Seasteading springs from a family legacy that starts with David Friedman. In 1973, he published The Machinery of Freedom, Guide to Radical Capitalism, where he proposed a thought experiment. What if houses were on wheels and people could move about and choose the governments they want? We'd have an economic solution to political problems. Voila! No more need for politicians. A decade later, David's parents, Milton and Rose Friedman, published Free to Choose, where they explored another thought experiment. What if free people could choose to be governed less? 2 decades after that, his grandson, Patri Friedman, proposed a machinery of freedom to choose. He asked, what if we lived on the ocean and could sail about and choose the neighbors we want? And this is the idea that launched 1,000 ships and changed my life. If you can float, your land is mobile. So imagine if your city was like a floating jigsaw puzzle. You can move city blocks and reassemble as you choose. Societies can only form if people choose to attach to each other. If some politician asks for your vote, you can detach your house, sail somewhere else, link up with your allies, found your own floating governance provider. If you can vote with your house, governments will be companies and residents will be customers. A diversity of governance options will compete for your choices. No more monopoly governance based on force. This business model has been making billions for decades. When I step off that land city and get on that floating city, my rent gets cheaper and my quality of life improves. My chances of being mugged, panhandled, ticketed, taxed, they all go to zero. On the floating city, I have zero chance of stepping in human feces or on a used syringe. In my land city, straws are banned, but we pass out 400,000 free needles every month. Why is the floating city better? That priesthood is largely self-governing. In 2019, at least 30 million people, a population larger than Texas, boarded cruise ships to vacation in private governance at sea. Cruise ships are anarcho-capitalist skyscrapers. They flourish where there is no state. They dock in one nation, fly the flag of another nation, pick up passengers from another nation, hire from anywhere. They pick and choose the laws best suited to their industry, and they make billions while maintaining friendly alliances with all nations. They fly the flags of Panama, the Bahamas, Malta, countries which have no capacity to enforce rules on the thousands of ships that fly their flags in oceans all over the world. Passengers sign a contract for onboard security and health care with these floating cities that bring their own hospitals along with them. Passengers sign a contract that if they get in a conflict with the ship company, they agree to private arbitration. A captain on a cruise ship is, in practice, a dictator. If you get drunk and assault one of his passengers, he can lock you in the brig. He can order his private security guards to put you in a Nelson and abandon you on that obscure island and wave bye-bye. Happens all the time on cruise ships. They have to deal with everything. What are you going to do? Sue him in Bahamas court? So, with so much power, why doesn't this ship captain flog his passengers and keel haul his crew? Why doesn't he make drunkards walk the plank? This is the captain of Disney Cruise Lines. Parents trust this tin pot dictator with their children. Why? Because in a market of governance, passengers have the option of switching and buying governance elsewhere and writing a negative review online. The same goes for employees. Cruise ship workers can switch to another employer. There are no angels involved here. When it comes to evolving excellent governance among self-interested people, choice beats voice. Floating beats voting. It's a short step from a vacation in voluntary governance to a home in voluntary governance. I think of seasteads as the mobile phones of the sea. We provide the platform, you bring your governance app. As long as people can choose them voluntarily, leave them voluntarily, and create them voluntarily, the best solutions for civil society and voluntary governance will emerge through variation and selection, which is the secret recipe for progress. Seasteads are a technology for evolution in governance, rapid, peaceful, which humanity has never experienced before. Bad governments are founded on monopoly control of land. Seasteads are the technology to decentralize the very ground beneath our feet. This is not an argument for voluntary societies. This is a technology for voluntary societies. The technology for variation and selection among societies. A research and development zone for better governance. The machinery of freedom to choose. Technology beats philosophy every time. And the seasteading story of liberty has inspired the engineers. This is the Seastead Showcase being built right now by the company Ocean Builders. This is a technology to cure the world of state politics. That block at the bottom will hold 2/3 of the weight. So the Seastead Showcase floats like an empty wine bottle with the bottom inch filled with sand. So think of it as a buoy. Not a new technology. Floating sea pillars have been serving the oil and gas industry since the Ford administration, since the Beatles broke up. The challenge for seasteaders has always been to bring the price of this down from $1 billion to something a middle-class family can afford on the high seas. And the Seasteading Institute issued that challenge. And in 2019, an engineer I didn't even know achieved that at his own expense. 2-person staff, 6-figure budget, inspiring story. The blue around the edges is the curved solar panels. You have plenty of space to land your autonomous drones. You plug your phone into your phone where you want your product to land. You come up a spiral staircase. You pick up your delivery of 10 seasteading books, which you will each be passing out to your friends. Stable in waves up to 5 meters, which is higher than the historical maximum in Panama. A spiral staircase will take you to an underwater room 10 meters deep. Calcium carbonate will encase your seastead in a solid seashell, and it should last at least a century at sea. Ocean Builders has already demonstrated that a habitat will grow quickly. Ocean Builders will get things started with 3D printed coral. Every seastead you build increases the amount of life on the ocean. More coral, more mussels, more sea crops, more fish, more oysters, more food. You want politicians to protect your seastead? Stop saying sustainable. Start saying eco-restorative. Environmentalists in California demand that the government protect decommissioned oil rigs to preserve the life that grows on it. And when an entire ecosystem is growing on your home, you're protected from politics as they currently exist in California. And you don't have to bring your diving gear. What you see on your coral reef dives will be visible outside your window. The EcoPod comes with its own underwater observatory. 360-degree aquarium windows, which Ocean Builders just finished installing. Anchors up to 200 meters deep, we can secure a seasick-free lifestyle. It's a catenary system, meaning those chains are very heavy. So if a big storm event will gently push you a few meters to the side, and the heavy chains will gently pull you back into place. The anchors are easily retracted, and you can tow this anywhere on planet Ocean. The upper part is already floating in Panama right now. Customers are already renting nights on it. This is the shallow water version. Instead of 1 long sea pillar, it's 4 short sea pillars. We're starting with baby steps. The seasteading story of liberty has inspired aquapreneurs to spend tens of millions of their own money. 2-person staff, 6-figure budget, inspiring story. Phase 3, we wanted flying cars. We're getting flying cars to seasteads. Next step after that is helicopters. That roof is designed to be a helipad. And now for the trillion-dollar question. How much freedom do we get? Volunteer research by none other than Tom W. Bell, the James Madison of the Blue Frontier. A single-family affordable seastead will be exempt from most international conventions, even while in territorial seas. So Tom helped me present this to the Panama government with the CEO of Ocean Builders. We presented to the presidency, we presented to the Panama Canal Authority, we presented to the Minister of Economy and Finance who studied under Milton Friedman. Panama is hosting our seastead factory. I cannot wait to stop talking about seasteading and show everybody the damn seastead. Every tourist who visits is going to take cell phone footage of their experience, and this is how we show people that freedom works better than force. If you can do one floor, you can do two. To go higher and taller, go deeper and heavier. If you can run a CB&B, you can run a medical tourism center. If this is 12 miles off the coast of San Francisco, I'll take a ferry ride to get my knee operation at 1/10 the price. Imagine dozens of these accelerating medical research all over the world. If one C-pillar makes you stable, imagine what 4 C-pillars can do. 4 years ago, we had 2 active seasteading companies. Now we have 13. 2-person staff, 6-figure budget, inspiring people with our story. Among the companies we inspired is Arctide. They want to provide affordable single-family homes in the next couple years. If you can make 4 C-pillars, you can make 8. This is a technology for startup societies on the Blue Frontier. You can run your business from the Blue Frontier. You can provide governance services just like a cruise ship and show your friends that freedom works better than force. You can set up your home affordably. You have a whole structure below to grow your coral garden. Very cool. The vision of seasteading is dynamic geography. Voting with your house. These are easy to tow. This could eventually evolve into Venice, which could inspire thousands of Venices all over 2/3 of the Earth's surface. There's your suburbs, 12 miles from your coastal city. A jet ski will take you to international waters in 12 minutes at 65 knots if waves are calm. And that's shorter than my commute from San Francisco to Silicon Valley. And my freedom is bigger than your country. Arctide has independently done research on optimal seasteading areas. If you subtract all the places where any country can make any claim, it looks like this. Free and easy seas are larger than any continent on Earth. So given this vast frontier for liberty and startup governance innovation, where would be the perfect place on land to put your seastead factory? Panama seems made by the hand of God for seasteading. Access to 2 oceans, 40 miles apart, the center of global trade in the Western Hemisphere. Linton Bay Marina is co-owned by the man who once ran the largest special economic zone in the Western Hemisphere. We're launching seasteads into 2 of the calmest oceans in the world. And so far, the Panama government is in full support. These will cost less than the average American home. So I don't want a free society. I want thousands of free societies, each family-sized. We want a swarm of discovery machines. I call them Hayek Islands. At first, they'll be an oasis for you crazy libertarians, but quickly they'll become a discovery process led by entrepreneurs, finding solutions that even your favorite politician can't imagine. But what if they kill us? They already tried. Rogue vice admirals in the Thai Navy volunteered to be cartoon villains in this stark morality play happening before the eyes of the world about an innocent young couple in love, threatened with death, and chased by the mighty Thai Navy. The seasteading story of liberty is what inspired volunteers to spontaneously organize to help them. And the very same day, the media were breathlessly selling you fake news about the ongoing manhunt, this secret picture was taken. The seasteading story of liberty is what inspired the entrepreneur on the left, Grant Romant, to meet me at the Floating City Conference in Singapore, which is what provided cover for him to get the immigration paperwork, race out in a speedboat, and deliver to the seasteaders who had been stranded at sea on the run for 10 days. Low food, low water, low gas. Grant delivered the legal entry paperwork 1 minute before the Singapore police surrounded them with gunboats while fighter jets circled overhead. That's the first seasteaders facing down the gunboats. Grant Romant, the rescuer who took this picture, is now CEO of Ocean Builders. So how's that for a job application process? He was wealthy. Why did he pull himself out of retirement to do this? A few weeks before this, on the way to Acapulco, I told this stranger the seasteading story of liberty. And he said, quote, "I'm in with both feet." He called Ocean Builders and says, "I'm moving to Thailand." Then after this rescue, he followed them to Panama. Then he hired the world's leading aquatect to help him design the Seapod. Chad and Nadia are alive and flourishing on the other side of the planet, building seasteads in Panama. They named their new baby Mira, which in Thai means goddess of the ocean. I'm writing a book about their insane, true story. And does your libertarian think tank inspire heroes to live out a Hollywood action movie like this and triumph to build seasteads again? We don't want to win more arguments. We've already won all the arguments and nobody cares. We want to inspire people to take human action. And these swashbuckling pioneers already nearly lost their lives, fortunes, and sacred honor to go down in history as the first seasteaders. We have 2 staff members, 6-figure budget, and an inspiring story. Now, the Seasteading Institute needs you to help us protect the next set of heroes. Tom W. Bell, our pro bono seasteading lawyer, researched how we secure seasteaders' property rights in international law with a flag. Freedom is an awesome responsibility, and the nonprofit Seasteading Institute is working to certify, insure, and flag seasteads for family use. I want parents to feel safe letting their children sleep in that room. I want families to skip Netflix and watch coral gardens grow, knowing they are safe and insured. I want the aquatic generation to grow up watching coral grow in their homes, free of politicians. And freedom is so easy if you go to the ocean. Stop negotiating with governments. Start negotiating with flagging registries. Governments outsource their sovereignty privileges to private businesses. To get a flag for your vessel, you never even talk to the flagging government. Do you want your libertarian fantasy? How about private flagging registries competing to grant seasteads de facto political autonomy? This is the holy grail of freedom. It's not persuasion. For example, the Bahamas flag, you have no income tax and no corporate tax. That's just for starters. So far, I've spoken to flagging registries or politicians from 9 flagging states. Palau, Panama, Liberia heard about this opportunity and reached out to us to compete with the other guys. A seastead flag is a public good to be used by any seastead company in any ocean. That means the nonprofit Seasteading Institute must provide it. We told the story to inspire the aquapreneurs. Now we need to provide the legal ecosystem so the free will be safe on the sea. When we close a deal with a flagging registry, more than 2/3 of the Earth's surface is legally opened as a frontier for free societies. How much is 2/3 of this planet worth to freedom? $100 trillion? A quintillion dollars? The 3-step process is going to cost the Seasteading Institute roughly $2 million. Consider all the land on Earth, all the millions of lives given to conquer it. A seasteading flag will more than double all that space as a canvas to experiment with the first voluntary societies. Libertarian philosophers, your ideas have changed my life, but ideas don't change the world. Stories change the world. Heroes, villains, civilizations are founded on stories. And the seasteading story of liberty is what inspired Chad and Nadia to risk their lives, fortunes, and sacred honor to go down in history as the first seasteaders. The seasteading story of liberty inspired the aquatechs, the engineers, the maritime lawyers to volunteer to help us create the next new world. Let's give the pioneers of the 21st century their flag. Their flag is their shield. It's their peaceful weapon of choice on the stateless half of the planet, the free half. The most devastating tax the government imposes is the tax on your sacred attention, the tax on your emotional energy, not to mention the immense waste of funds we volunteer to politicians who are promising to free us from the state by using the state. Every penny you donate to political campaigns should be donating to the Seasteading Institute, because seasteading is going to solve your political problems faster than any promise of any politician. Now I get to talk to Seasteading Ambassador Gia Christopher, who is here to tell us why she wants to raise her family on seasteads, and here's where it gets good.
Hey guys, I'm Gia.
Whew.
You may have heard of me. I'm responsible for Mimosa Gate. Joe, thank you for having me here with you.
Thank you for inviting me here. You're the reason I'm here.
So I wanted to ask you, what about pirates?
Pirates, there are probably fewer pirates between here and Hawaii than there are criminals right here in Sacramento.
Why don't pirates raid cruise ships and also huge cruise ships with lots of people with lots of jewels and casino money? Why don't they raid those?
Yeah, I made a cute little video making fun of this idea where a friend of mine pulled up to a cruise ship and we were yelling up, "Throw down your jewelry, we're pirates." I mean, there's tons of cruise ships are already protected by maritime policing authorities. There's tons of boats out on the ocean that are protected from criminals. And piracy waters are less than 2% of the world's oceans. So if you want to avoid pirates, just don't park your seastead off the coast of failed states.
There you go. I have a question for you. What is the coolest idea besides mine that somebody's going to do with a seastead?
Well, I have my favorite. Everyone has a different favorite. We were going to start with a CB&B just to rent it out and show people, my God, it really works. What I always thought could really pay for this is medical research.
I mean, that's a very good one. Being able to innovate without red tape and bureaucracy, you would move truly at lightning speed, but probably a lot safer than the way we do it here when we do that sort of a thing.
Yeah, the people banging on my door for demanding their seastead are biotech researchers. They want to get out from under the FDA. And they're afraid. They're afraid of the FDA.
Listen to what Joe Rogan says when he gets his stem cells. You can't do that here. What he wants to do. It's illegal.
What's your favorite idea?
My favorite idea is my own. I want to have a restaurant and bar, like a tavern, and it's called Uncle Ron's, and it's an homage to my two favorite Rons, Ron Paul and Ron Swanson. So when you come in, you can eat all the bacon and eggs that you have, and I will stop serving anyone bacon and eggs until you admit you've had enough. That's my idea. And then
sold.
You can take your jet ski over to my seastead anytime you need butter, sugar. I'm right there for you.
I'll do it. I'd love to have you as a neighbor.
Yeah, so likewise. And I'd love to have any of you as my neighbor. And I have kids. I have kids that are 21, 14, and 2 years old. And I want to take them out and I want them to be free. Like, I want them to be the kind of free that I thought I was. I was told, oh, I can do that. It's a free country. Remember that? It's a free country. And I always thought I lived in a free country. I always thought I was free until I tried to actually act like it. And then I found out I don't even own anything. I don't even own my own body. I don't even own my own children. I don't own my own house. I don't own my car. I don't even own my own ideas. Like, I own nothing. And I want to own something. And I want to be able to have something to pass down. And that matters to me. And I don't want my sons to ever, ever fight for land and resources. I don't ever want them to be in a position where they have to hurt another person that they don't know and they don't dislike out of force and fear. And so this is the only way I can think of that they can actually truly be the free that I thought I was.
You said something to me that this would be true sovereignty. That's what's cool about it.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the ultimate expression of libertarianism. There isn't, we all like to talk about, our philosophies. But when are you ever going to actually, put your money where your mouth is and prove it? This is a truly, if, we're going to do this, this is a proof of concept. And if we fail, we failed for a good damn reason. And then we'll either, we failed, then we can pick it up and do it right. But, if you fail, you should fail. You shouldn't have bad ideas survive. I want good ideas to survive. And so
I want there to be enough seasteads out there that you can shut people up with it. It's like, if you believe in your idea, go seastead it.
I want to steal citizens away from nations that are treating their people poorly. I want to encourage them to come and be citizens of Gia land, or whatever I end up calling it. And, it's like, Gia, you're in an HOA. How can you be in an HOA? You're a libertarian. I'm like, this is a government I opted into and that I can actually have a pretty good say in. And yeah, I don't want people parking on their lawns. That's something I agree with. So this would basically be no different than my HOA. Everybody who lives in Geoland opts into my community because I offer a really cool neighborhood, I guess, or whatever. Like, Ron's bar is pretty hopping and they want to be closer to the whiskeys. And
if people are competing to attract citizens, then the best rules are going to emerge in multiple different places. There'll be a government for everybody.
That reminds me of the pizza.
Give that analogy. This is the best analogy I've ever heard for seasteading.
Okay, so let's say you've got 8 friends, and you can slice a pizza 8 ways. Can you and your 7 friends agree on one pizza for lunch? No, you can't. No, you can't, because one person's gluten-free, one person's lactose-free, one person hates onions, one person likes olives. It's a mess. Your pineapple is the only topping I want. So what I'm saying is, why do we all have to share a pizza and all get a pizza that we don't really like? Why don't we all get our own pizza? So now you've got Pieology. You can go to Pieology and you can get your own pizza exactly the way you want it. And why can't we have that with government? Why can't we have individual personalized pizza governments?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you guys are friends, but if you had to vote on whether to have a pineapple pizza or not, you'd be forced to be enemies.
Right. Yeah. No, if I would literally come to fisticuffs over this. But no, now we don't have to. So now, instead of having to fight with your neighbor, literally fight over soil and the ground under, you can just unhook and be like, you know what, I'm out of here. Bye. And then you never actually have to become violent. And that is the truest expression of libertarianism, is the non-aggression principle.
Yes, and it breaks my heart to see people who share my values arguing with each other over finer points of law, trying to get some tiny bit of power in the state to move the needle one sliver this way and spending all this money and emotional energy.
Yeah, I love you guys.
It's not going to get you what you want.
I love you guys, but you are challenging my commitment to the nap. I'm kidding. All right, well, Joe, you're amazing, and I just want to thank you again for coming. And if any of these people have any questions or they want to get a seastead, they can just contact you directly, maybe?
Yes, contact us about a seastead, and a donor wants to buy you a book. So
yeah, go get your book. Joe will sign it for you.